Staff Sergeant Harper Vance had her discharge papers in one hand and a plane ticket in the other. It was Christmas Eve, and she was finally done. But when the radio screamed that her old unit was pinned down in the Valley of Shadows, Harper didn't board the plane. She unlocked her rifle case. The air at Forward Operating Base FOB, Grizzly, smelled of diesel fuel, wet pine, and the distinct metallic tang of impending snow. It was December 24th. For Staff Sergeant Harper Vance, the cold didn't bite as hard as usual. In her chest pocket, tucked behind a pouch of stale chewing tobacco she rarely used, sat the most valuable piece of paper in the sector, her approved leave and discharge authorization. After 4 tours, 3 Purple Hearts, and a confirmed kill count that was classified, Top Secret Harper was going home. "You actually leaving us, Vance?" The voice came from Private First Class Junior Gable, a 19-year-old kid from Ohio who looked like he was wearing his older brother's helmet. He was leaning against the wheel of a Humvee, scrubbing mud off the fender. Harper hoisted her duffel bag over her shoulder, adjusting the strap. 0800 transport to the airstrip, Junior. By tomorrow night, I'll be eating my mom's pot roast in Denver. No MREs, no mortars, and definitely no freezing my ass off in this godforsaken valley. Junior grinned, though it didn't reach his eyes. The base was tense. Intel had been chattering about increased insurgent movement near the northern ridge, a jagged scar of rock known locally as the Throat. "Well, Merry Christmas, Sergeant," Junior said, snapping a mock salute. "Try not to miss us too much." "Don't count on it," Harper said. But she paused. She looked at the team gearing up near the armory. It was Viper Squad, her squad, until about 6 hours ago. Lieutenant Cole was barking orders, checking comms. They were prepping for a standard presence patrol along the supply route. It was supposed to be a milk run. A quick out and back to show the flag before the holiday ceasefire kicked in. Harper felt a familiar itch in her trigger finger, a phantom pull. "Not my problem anymore," she told herself. "You did your time." She walked toward the transit tent, the gravel crunching loudly under her boots. Inside, the heater was blasting, and a few other lucky soldiers were sleeping on cots waiting for the bird. Harper found a corner, sat down, and pulled out her phone. She had a text drafted to her sister, "Coming home." For real this time. She was about to hit send when the base siren ripped through the air. It wasn't the rhythmic wail of incoming indirect fire. It was the frantic staccato blast of a mass casualty alarm, combined with the QRF Quick Reaction Force summons. Harper froze. The door to the transit tent flew open. Sergeant Major Rickard stuck his head in his face, pale beneath the grime. "Vance, you still here?" "My flight is in 20 minutes, Major," Harper said, standing up slowly. "Flight's grounded," Rickard spat, looking at the floor. "Viper Squad just walked into a buzzsaw. They're pinned in the throat. We lost comms with Lieutenant Cole. Junior is screaming on the radio that they're taking effective sniper fire from the high ground." Harper felt the blood drain from her face. "Junior." "Send the QRF," Harper said, her voice hard. "We can't," Rickard said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Command says the weather has grounded air support. The medevac won't fly without sniper overwatch, and our designated marksman took a hit in the first volley. They're sitting ducks, Harper. They're going to die out there." Harper looked at her phone. The draft message was still on the screen. "Coming home." She deleted it. "Open the armory, Major," Harper said, dropping her duffel bag. "And get me my rifle." The MRAP mine-resistant ambush. Protected vehicle roared as it tore down the muddy supply road, the tires struggling for grip on the sleet-covered gravel. Harper sat in the back, checking the optics on her M110 SAS semi-automatic sniper system. She wasn't wearing her full kit, just her plate carrier over her thermal shirt. She hadn't had time to change. 2 minutes out! The driver screamed over the roar of the engine. Kill the lights, Harper ordered. If they have the high ground, they'll see us coming from a mile away. The vehicle plunged into darkness, navigating by night vision optics. The radio in the front was crackling with the sounds of chaos. Taking fire from the East Ridge. Coal is down, I repeat. Coal is down. We need suppressive fire. It was Junior. He sounded terrified, his voice cracking with every scream. Status on the enemy sniper! Harper barked into her headset. Unknown location, Junior replied, breathless. He's hitting us through the gaps in the armor. He knows exactly where we are, Sergeant. It's like he can see through the trucks. Harper frowned. The insurgents in this sector were sloppy. They sprayed and prayed. Precision fire shooting through armor gaps implied training. Advanced training. Drop me at the canyon entrance, Harper told the driver. Do not, I repeat, do not drive into the kill zone. You'll just be another target. You going in alone, Vance? The driver asked, eyeing her in the rearview mirror. If I go with you, I'm a target, Harper said, chambering around. If I go alone, I'm a ghost. The MR app slowed, and Harper rolled out the back door before it even came to a full halt. The cold air hit her like a hammer. The sound of gunfire was deafening now, the deep thud, thud, thud of the enemy heavy machine guns echoing off the canyon walls. She moved low, sprinting toward the tree line that skirted the base of the ridge. She wasn't running toward her team. She was running away from them, flanking wide to get eyes on the cliffs above. She scrambled up a scree slope, her lungs burning. The snow was falling harder now, reducing visibility to less than 50 meters. For a sniper, this was a nightmare. But Harper knew this terrain. She knew that there was only one perch on the East Ridge that offered a view of the road while remaining protected from the wind. If the enemy sniper was as good as Junior said he would be there. She reached a rocky outcropping and went prone, sliding her rifle barrel through a gap in the stones. She dialed up the magnification on her scope, scanning the opposite ridge. Below her, in the valley floor, she saw the burning wreckage of Viper Squad's lead vehicle. Tracers were flying back and forth. She saw Junior dragging Lieutenant Cole behind the engine block of the second Humvee. Crack! A bullet sparked off the metal inches from Junior's head. Harper froze. The sound didn't match the heavy machine guns. It was the sharp, distinctive crack of a high-caliber rifle. She scanned the ridge again. Nothing. No muzzle flash, no movement. Crack. Another shot. This one hit the tire of the Humvee Junior, was hiding behind deflating it and lowering their cover. "Where are you?" Harper whispered, her eye glued to the scope. Then she saw it. Not a person, but a rhythmic disturbance in the snow on a ledge 300 meters across the gap. It was a thermal blanket designed to hide a heat signature. It fluttered just once in the wind. Harper adjusted her windage knob. "I see you." But before she could squeeze the trigger, her radio clicked. It wasn't Junior. "Vance, I know you're out there." The voice was American, clear, calm. Harper's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "Go home, Harper. You have your ticket. Turn around, walk away, and you get to see Christmas." The enemy sniper was on their frequency. Harper didn't respond. Speaking would give away her focus. Her mind raced. How did they know her name? How did they know she was leaving Major Rickard? Harper whispered into her comms, switching to a secure channel. "We have a leak. The hostile on the ridge knows my name." Static. Then Rickard's voice strained. "Vance, just take the shot. We have intel suggesting that's not a local insurgent. It's a merc, ex-Special Forces." Harper's grip tightened on her rifle. A mercenary. A private contractor paid to destabilize the region so the conflict and the funding contracts would keep flowing. It was a rumor soldiers joked about in the mess hall, but seeing it live was sickening. She looked through the scope. The thermal blanket had shifted. The sniper knew she was hunting him. "You can't make the shot in this wind, Vance," the voice taunted over the open channel. "It's a 30-mile-an-hour crosswind. You'll miss, and then I'll put a bullet in that kid Junior." Harper watched Junior down in the valley. He was trying to tourniquet Cole's leg, his hands shaking. She closed her eyes for a second, visualizing the bullet's path. The wind was howling from the north, swirling in the canyon. The manual said it was an impossible shot. The manual said to wait for a lull. But Junior didn't have time for a lull. Harper exhaled, emptying her lungs. She ignored the crosshairs and aimed 4 feet to the left of the thermal blanket, compensating for the gale force gust. "Merry Christmas, asshole," she whispered. She squeezed the trigger. The recoil punched her shoulder. The M110 barked. For a second, nothing happened. The wind tore the sound away. Then across the canyon, the thermal blanket whipped back violently. A figure slumped forward, tumbling out from behind the rock cover and sliding halfway down the snowy slope. A long-barreled rifle clattered onto the rocks below. "Target down!" Harper screamed into the radio. "Sniper neutralized, Viper Squad. Pop smoke. Move, move, move." Down in the valley, green smoke billowed out. The surviving members of Viper Squad laid down a wall of suppressive fire, dragging the wounded toward the rear vehicle. Harper didn't celebrate. She kept her scope on the fallen figure. She needed to confirm the kill. She needed to know who it was. But as she watched, the figure moved. He wasn't dead. He was clutching his side, crawling towards a radio handset. Harper racked another round, but before she could fire, 3 black SUVs with no markings roared out from a hidden trail on the valley floor. They weren't coming to help Viper Squad. They were heading straight for the extraction point to pick up the sniper. "Major!" Harper radioed, her voice shaking with rage. "I have unauthorized vehicles extracting the target. I'm taking them out." "Negative, Vance!" Rickard screamed, his voice panic-stricken. "Stand down. Do not engage those vehicles. That is a CIA extraction team. You fire on them and you'll go to prison for the rest of your life." Harper froze. The twist hit her harder than a bullet. The sniper wasn't just a mercenary. He was an asset. This whole ambush, the pin-down, the routine patrol, it was a setup to flush out a local warlord, and Viper Squad was just the bait. Her friends were used as live bait by their own side. The black SUVs skidded to a halt near the wounded sniper. Men in tactical gear jumped out, hauling him inside. Below, Junior was screaming again. The insurgents, realizing the sniper cover was gone, were rushing the convoy. Harper had a choice. She could follow orders, let the asset go and save her career, or she could provide cover for her team and risk a court-martial. She shifted her aim. She didn't aim at the CIA vehicles. She aimed at the fuel tank of the lead insurgent truck charging toward Junior. Bam! The truck exploded in a fireball, blocking the road and cutting off the enemy advance. Bam! Bam! She dropped 2 machine gunners on the ridge. "Get out of there, Junior!" she yelled. The Viper Squad Humvee roared to life, tires spinning, and tore out of the kill zone, leaving the burning wreckage behind. Harper lay in the snow, watching the black SUVs disappear in the other direction. She was alone on the ridge. The cold was finally starting to set in. The adrenaline crash hit Harper long before she saw the perimeter lights of FOB Grizzly. It hit her in the legs first, a heavy leaden ache that made every step through the slush feel like she was dragging concrete blocks. She had humped 6 miles back to the extraction point, where a recovery vehicle finally picked her up, and the silence inside the cab had been deafening. By the time she walked through the main gates of the base, it was 0200 hours on Christmas morning. The base was in a hush, the kind of heavy, uneasy quiet that follows a mass casualty event. The snow had stopped falling, leaving the world coated in a pristine, deceptive white that covered the mud and the blood of the valley. Harper didn't go to the barracks. She didn't go to the mess hall. She went straight to the medical tent. The scent hit her the moment she pushed through the heavy plastic flaps, a sharp, stinging cocktail of antiseptic iodine and the copper smell of dried blood. The trauma bay was busy. Medics moved with practiced, hushed urgency. In the corner, sitting on the edge of a cot with a foil blanket draped over his shoulders, was Junior. He looked younger than 19. His face was streaked with soot and tears creating jagged paths down his cheeks. His hands, still caked in dried mud, were trembling violently as he tried to hold a cup of water. Harper unslung her rifle case and leaned it against a crate. She walked over slowly. "Junior," she said, her voice raspy from the cold air. The kid looked up. His eyes were wide, glassy, seeing things that weren't there. When he registered Harper standing there alive, solid, real, his face crumpled. He didn't say a word. He stood up, the foil blanket sliding to the floor, and lunged at her. He hugged her with a desperate strength, burying his face in the tactical nylon of her plate carrier. He sobbed a raw, ugly sound that drew glances from the medics. "I thought we were dead," he choked out his voice, muffled against her shoulder. "I couldn't get the tourniquet on fast enough. The shots just kept coming." "It's over," Harper murmured, patting his back with a gloved hand. She looked over his shoulder and saw Lieutenant Cole on a stretcher nearby. He was pale and unconscious, hooked up to IVs, but the monitor showed a steady, rhythmic beep. He was going to make it. "You came back," Junior whispered, pulling away and wiping his nose with his sleeve. "Sarge, you were gone. You were supposed to be on that plane. Why did you come back?" Harper looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the fear that would likely haunt him for years, but she also saw that he was alive to feel it. "Flight was delayed," she lied smoothly, forcing a small, tired smile. "Besides, who else is going to make sure you keep your head down?" Before Junior could respond, the tent flap whipped open again. The temperature dropped 10 degrees instantly. Sergeant Major Rickard stood in the entrance. He wasn't smiling. He spotted Harper and jerked his head toward the exit. "Vance, outside, now!" Harper gave Junior's shoulder one last squeeze. "Get some sleep, kid." She followed Rickard out into the biting cold. They walked away from the medical tent, finding a secluded spot behind a stack of fuel bladders. The wind whipped around them, rattling the tarps. Rickard stopped and turned to face her. His face was a mask of exhaustion and suppressed anger. He lit a cigarette, the flame of his lighter illuminating the deep lines around his eyes. He didn't offer her one. "You disobeyed a direct order to stand down," Rickard said, his voice low and dangerous. "And you fired a weapon in the vicinity of a sensitive Allied extraction team. Harper stood at parade rest, her expression unreadable. I engaged enemy combatants who were maneuvering to overrun my squad major. I neutralized a threat. You almost neutralized a CIA asset, Rickard hissed, smoke billowing from his mouth. Do you have any idea the storm you almost kicked up those black SUVs? That wasn't just a extraction. That was a sanitized operation. The man you shot, he wasn't supposed to be there, and we weren't supposed to see him. Harper met his gaze, her eyes hard. I didn't see any SUVs, Major. The weather conditions were severe. Visibility was 0. All I saw were muzzle flashes targeting my men. Rickard stared at her for a long, agonizing moment. He was searching for a crack in her armor, a sign of hesitation. But Harper Vance had been a sniper for too long. She knew how to stay still. She knew how to hold her breath. She knew that Rickard knew the truth. The enemy sniper was a paid contractor, a loose end the agency was trying to save, while Viper Squad bled out in the snow. Harper had forced their hand. By taking the shot, she had saved her team, but she had embarrassed powerful people. Finally, Rickard's shoulders slumped. He let out a long sigh, the anger draining out of him replaced by a weary respect. The official report, Rickard said, slowly reciting words he had likely rehearsed with a furious colonel just minutes ago, will state that the hostile marksman was neutralized by unknown causes during the firefight. Staff Sergeant Vance provided critical overwatch to facilitate the medical evacuation of Viper Squad. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Your commercial flight is gone, Harper. You missed the connection in Kuwait. It's not coming back. Harper felt a pang of disappointment, but she pushed it down. Understood. However, Rickard continued, extending the paper to her. There is a C-17 Globemaster on the strip right now. It's a cargo hauler, doing a grim run coffins and broken equipment back to Ramstein, then on to Dover. It's leaving in 40 minutes. I put your name on the manifest. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Get on that bird, Vance. Disappear. If you stay here, the suits in the black SUVs might start asking questions I can't answer. You understand? Loud and clear, Major, Harper said, taking the paper. Rickard looked at her one last time, his eyes softening. Harper. That shot, in that wind, from that distance. He shook his head slightly. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Rickard. Harper grabbed her gear and walked to the airstrip. The C-17 was a behemoth in the dark, its engines whining with a high-pitched scream that vibrated in her chest. The rear ramp was down, bathing the tarmac in red tactical light. She boarded the plane. It wasn't the comfortable passenger jet with reclining seats and movies she had dreamed of all week. The hold was cavernous, freezing, and smelled of hydraulic fluid and jet fuel. It was packed with pallets of gear, strapped down with heavy chains. She found a spot on a canvas jump seat along the fuselage wall, wedged between a crate of spare tank parts and a pallet of outgoing mail. She buckled the 4-point harness, the cold metal clips clicking into place. As the heavy ramp hissed closed, sealing out the snowy night and the war outside, Harper pulled out her phone. Her fingers were numb, but she managed to unlock the screen. She opened the text thread with her sister. The signal bars were dropping as the avionics came online. Delayed. But I'm safe. Tell Mum to save me a plate. I'm really coming home. She hit send just as the signal cut out. The massive engines roared to full power, and the plane lurched forward. Harper leaned her head back against the vibrating metal wall. She closed her eyes. She wouldn't be in Denver for the morning. She would spend Christmas Day shivering in a cargo hold at 30,000 feet, eating a cold MRE if she could find one. But as the wheels left the ground, lifting her away from the valley of shadows, Harper didn't feel regret. She thought of Junior warm in the medical tent. She thought of Cole alive. She had lost her ticket to a silent night, but she had bought one for them. Harper Vance smiled in the darkness, the roar of the engines sounding like the sweetest lullaby she had ever heard. She was finally truly done. Sometimes the greatest gifts aren't wrapped under a tree. They're the sacrifices made in the shadows so others can see the morning light. Harper Vance missed Christmas to save her brothers, proving that loyalty is the strongest weapon of all. If this story moved you, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video to honor the real-life heroes who never leave a teammate behind.